So, hi, everybody. We're here to talk to you a little bit about the newly formed Consumer Working Group. And then we had to, of course, include this great picture. Did you make this, Jay, or was this Alex Summers?
No, it was Alex Summers.
Nice. Nice.
Credit where credit is due.
Yeah, yeah. It's the guy's very stern. Okay, so we are the chairs along with Chris Turner, who I believe is out this week. So thanks to him. Jay, do you want to take this one, or do you want me to?
I could jump in. Yeah. So the whole goal of the Consumer Working Group, and actually discussion about forming the Consumer Working Group, it's been going on for probably 2 years now. And we finally got it approved. And the thought was to create this voice of the consumer, and trying to capture the people who are taking in this data and trying to understand it and apply it and make it actionable and all of that stuff. That is what we wanted the group to try and pull together and give them a voice. We did want to avoid bike shedding, solutionizing. It's very, very easy for people to say, this isn't right, and here's how you fix it. And in the last bullet point, the CWG is one voice of many, and there's definitely been some concern that, like someone would join the CWG and say, this is broken, and I told them it was broken, and now they're not fixing it, So I wanted to be sure that that was one voice of many. And so we just wanted to make coherent to the consumers and the working group that, we're there to provide feedback and to be there to produce this feedback, that what we say is not going to immediately cause changes or updates, and that we're just going to be one voice of many in this program.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, a lot of the interest in forming this, and thanks to Jay for his leadership in getting this all set up, is to help other working groups think about things. So we're both in the quality working group, and there are a number of times when we are talking about some topic in that working group, and we're wondering, do we want to keep something very, very simple and apply the keep it simple, stupid model? Or do we want to try to future-proof something? Do we want to make sure that something is complex to anticipate lots of future changes? And it's very hard to know which of those things we should be having a bias towards. So Jay may say, I think we should keep it simple. And I may say, hey, I think what we need to do is really expand the scope of what we're doing. Let's change the schema in this way. And who's right and who's wrong? Well, Jay's always right. He'll tell you that. But I think that we need to have a slightly better way to think about these kinds of questions, because we need to really think about being a data-informed decision-making organization. So for me, that's the exciting thing, and hopefully we'll be feeding a lot of the stuff into the other working groups. So I think this is still current, or there's still about 10 working groups, and we hypothesize, I'm on a couple of these, that many working groups would benefit from understanding who are the downstream consumers of this information, what is it that they need to do, what are the problems that they're having. We've seen several presentations over the course of the last couple of days, which were just incredibly inspiring, where people were saying the same thing. Yes, we're all fighting for the user, Chris, you especially. So I think what we are hoping to do is to better understand who these downstream consumers are, and then try to find a way to present that to these other working groups. Try to find a way to represent their voices so that all of them can make data-driven decisions as they're moving forward. Any other thoughts on this
Nope.
one? Okay.
No.
All right. Age of quality. So we've heard this a few times today, yesterday. This idea that we are going to focus much more on quality, and this is just music to my ears. So obviously I'm in the quality working group, so I care a great deal about this, but this is a transformation, and I think we're trying to figure out, at least I'm trying to figure out, how do we participate in this transformation? How can I and how can Jay and others participate in this transformation to an age of quality? And for me, I wasn't here 25 years ago. Some of you probably were. Early days, there was a lot of survival, just trying to get by, and I am in awe of the people who were able to start the program, keep it going. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears, I'm certain. Um, and this idea that we were going to start adding more CNAs in a growth phase, that's an interesting perspective that I've been hearing more about lately. And while we are not done growing the number of CEs, I'm quite sure you all would know better than I would. I think it's fair to say that we need to start preparing for this transition and really start taking quality much more, making it, not that we're taking it more seriously, but really put it front and center. So as I think about quality, and Jay had a whole presentation yesterday, so he can say what the correct answer is. He's thinking about this a lot more than I am. But I think about three specific things that are tied to this idea of quality. Quality being, it's almost a conclusion. It's a function of things like the completeness of a record, the accuracy of the data in it, and the timeliness. And as Art is fond of reminding me, you may only be able to pick two of those, and I think that's right. And so we should talk about what that means for CVE records to be complete and accurate, but really thinking about how to make them timely. So I think there's a lot of good conversation to have there. But those are the things I think about. And then I think about, of course, utility being another attribute about who the various consumers are, and they're not all going to be unified in how they think about things. And so that's why we are interested in this working group. What else am I forgetting?
Not much. Let's go on.
Okay, that's all right. So this is a slide that you all know far better than I do, but one of the things that occurred to me as I was in some of these other working groups is we spend a lot of time thinking about the record creation phase over on the left side. And so we think about the ways in which the CNAs need to create records, the tools they use, the challenges they face, and we've discussed a bunch of those over the past couple of days. But for me, the real zone of strategic value is on the right. It's where the rubber meets the road. It's a couple of buckets. It's the ways in which the defenders are able to take this information and turn that into action. And we heard that from the Qualys presentation, so I won't belabor that. But that's really making sure defenders can defend today. But there's another bucket which ties back to things like the CWE, which is how can we become not a learning organization, but a learning industry? How can we start learning about quality across not just individual organizations, open source projects, or the commercial entities, but how can we learn what are the common patterns that we see over and over again? You're all familiar with this paper called Unforgivable Vulnerabilities from 2007. If you take a look at those and then compare those to the MITRE list of the most dangerous weaknesses from 2024, you'll see tons of overlap. So how can we figure out not just how to help defenders defend better today, how can we start to use that in a data-driven way to ask questions like, how do we kill entire classes of vulnerability within individual organizations, open source projects, and the industry as a whole? So for me, that's where our value is over there on the right. We got to do all the stuff on the left. There's no doubt about that. And we'll spend most of our time wrestling with a lot of those issues. But if we don't have a North Star that ties back to this zone of strategic value over on the right, we're going to make it difficult for ourselves to actually accomplish any of those goals. Jay, do you want to talk about some user stories here?
Yeah, so we needed a way to collect basically the sentiment of this group. And I don't know how many users we have right now, Bob, actually, off the top of my head. I mean, we're well over 100 people signed up for this. But we needed some way to collect this voice, the voice that we're trying to gather up here. And so we came up with the method of user stories, which is probably familiar to anyone who's worked in professional development teams, but trying to capture, concise, very clear statements about who needs what to do what, kind of a thing. And I think the next slide actually gets into it a little better, Bob. And these are all going to be in the GitHub repo for the group. But essentially, like as a blank role performing task, the problem that you're experiencing. And again, we want to try and stay away from the solution to that problem, but we want to identify what that problem is And then we're going to have 4 specific fields after that describing the current state, the desired outcome, the current outcome, and the desired outcome, and then anything else you might want to throw in there, the 4th field. But this is hopefully a way that we can standardize and really capture the voice of the consumer here and get them in a set of user stories. And then as a group, we can start to prioritize and say, these are the important things. This is what we want to focus on. This would really help more people out if we had these at the top addressed first and that sort of thing. And so that's really what we're focusing on, is these user stories.
That's right. And I think based on some of the other conversations that I heard yesterday, I would love to hear from any of the CNAs who have already done something like this, who have been reaching out to their customers to figure out, their downstream consumers, folks who actually consume these CVE records, to understand their environments, what problems they have. And so you may already have done something like this. And so if you have, or if you'd like to help us do that, please reach out, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel if you've already done something similar to this. Yes, so in terms of the meeting schedule, so we're doing a little experiment. So we're trying to make sure that we can hit the US and EU, but also the APAC. And so we have our next meeting, which is later today, which will be 4 o'clock my time in California, but it'll also be 8 a.m. in Japan and 10 a.m. in Sydney. So, and then there's a link here, which I think these will be distributed. So if you're interested in joining, you can join it through that link, but it's also on the CVE.org website. And one of my things that I really like is following the calendar. So I just subscribe to the calendar online, and then I never miss a meeting. Anything else before we open it up to questions, Jay?
No, I think we can open it up for questions. Well, while we're waiting for that, the group is still relatively new. I think we got approved like a month and a half ago, and we've had, I think, two sets of meetings in 2 different time zones, so 4 meetings total. And so we're still new. We're still going to be evolving and updating the things that we're doing. Like the user stories came about in our 2nd round of meetings. And we're entering our 3rd round, like Bob said, today, and then next week for the EU time zone. But we're definitely going to be evolving. For example, we tried to get people to open up GitHub issues on their concerns, but just asking for participation globally like that isn't working out well. And so we're going to be doing a different approach, trying to evolve how we're capturing those voices and things like that. So.
Yeah, I've been hunting some people down individually, so I'll start that. I've got a list of questions, and then we can feed that back into the process and figure out what should we be asking for the next round. So I think we'll keep iterating.
Yeah, and I would also encourage all of the CNAs, because I know that probably all of you are consumers as well as producers, and so you're definitely welcome. There's no exclusionary anything in here. We're not trying to isolate people, but I think everybody probably involved in this program is a consumer at some level. And so if you have thoughts on your experiences as a consumer, definitely join. Bob, where do you see this going in 6 months to 12 months? Like, where do you hope this will be at that point?
Yeah, so I would hope that we would have some user stories so that we'd be able to identify the various categories. I would hope that we would be able to have a community of people who can help answer questions. And so when we say, hey, Jay wants to engage in radical simplicity and Bob wants to over-engineer this thing, we can actually take that to people and say, tell us what you're thinking about. So that would include, we didn't really talk about this, but that would include not just the defenders who are defending today, but also the folks who are making tools. So they have to consume this data. They care about quality because they have to turn around and then deliver that to their downstream users. And so I would hope that we would be able to have a vibrant community where we're talking about specific facts and specific scenarios, rather than just having us take our best guess. Best guesses can sometimes be fine, but there's really no substitute for having real data.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, somebody says, consumer experience this week as a security advisor in my organization. When Wiz alerts on a subcomponent of a third-party component that has a new CVE, I want to be able to figure out if my organization is impacted or not, and the severity of the impact, so that I can advise operations to prioritize patching this vulnerability or not. that sounds like a user story.
Yeah, and I think that's what it was intended for. And I think, sort of jumping, as I told people not to do, jumping to a solution, this seems like a VEX thing. The discussions that we just had earlier today, talking about VEX and the SADP program and things like that. This is basically, I mean, if I'm reading it right, Michael, that this is basically voicing support for that. And so if we had that in there and we were ranking it, like we might see that rise up to the top, that a lot of people want that, or maybe we don't see a lot of support for it or something, but that's why we want to capture these. Yeah.
Yeah, and then George is asking for the link. The shortcut is just go to cve.org. There's a working group page, and then if you just scroll down, you'll find the consumer working group. That's the easiest way to do it. Or you can paste it in there.
I'll paste the link here in a second.
And then I see Chris Coffin has a hand up.
I was just going to say that user story is filled with a number of things that could be pulled out of it. I immediately grasp or latched onto the subcomponent of a third-party component. I think that just is kind of screaming the software identifiers and making sure that we do a good job in CVE records of identifying both in human-readable and machine-readable fashion, what does this CVE record apply to?
Right. Yeah, I think that's right. And it sort of reminds me of the conversation earlier about curl and all of its many downstream consumers. And so, yes, being able to take a piece of software and say, is this affected? I think these are the simple questions that are vexing us. Get it? Okay. I'll be here all week. Let's see what else more about link to Get Hope. Thank you, Andrew. So feel free to reach out if you have questions. If you'd like to participate, we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you all are doing. This is very helpful to bring in that consumer type of questions into, and eventually the flow is this will end up coming back to QWG. That's the workflow you're thinking as far as the input
and others too. Automation
and others,
like all of them. Yeah, basically, my hope, and this may be naive, and you can push back on this if this is not the right model. My hope is that all the working groups would benefit from taking a look at our customers. So this is a strange way of thinking about it, but and I alluded to it before. But I think about the CV program as a product. We don't sell it; it's free, and we have a group of people who participate and volunteer. But I think about it like a product. And so I want to know who are my downstream customers, who are their customers, how can I determine if I'm doing a good job or not, and how can I continue to evolve the program informed by what's actually happening in the field. And so I think, and we saw this again, I was very, very excited to see several people kind of talk about the product management viewpoint of various pieces of the CV program. I think that's a very powerful way to think about things, and hopefully we'll be able to help drive a lot of really interesting and also probably still heated discussions in all of the various working groups, but with data.